Welcome everyone to the final game of Magnus Carlsen versus Gukesh from the Clutch Chess Champions Showdown 2025. Magnus and Gukesh have played 5 games against each other with 4 decisive games in Magnus's favor and 1 draw. Will Gukesh finally manage to pull one back? We'll wait and watch here. Magnus has been incredible in this tournament, especially the last game that he played with Gukesh was a positional masterpiece. Now Magnus has the white pieces. It's 10 minutes plus 5 seconds increment. It's the final day of clutch chess, which means every win nets you 3 points. Very exciting struggle up ahead. The players are ready. The arbiter is ready. And we are ready to rock and roll here. A handshake. And this, dear friends, is the Duolingo recap of the round. Duolingo is an app where you can improve your languages. You can learn many languages, but now they've introduced chess. And chess is absolutely free to learn on their app. So download it and begin your journey. E4, E5, knight to F3. Knight comes out to C6. We have the Ruy Lopez with bishop B5. A6 by Gukesh, bishop A4. Pawn comes up to D6, opening up the bishop. Slightly unknown, this variation, and lesser played. Let's see if Magnus is well versed with this. He plays his pawn to C4. Bishop comes to G4, pinning the knight here. White brings his knight to C3. And knight comes out to F6. How is Magnus going to continue here? He pushes his pawn to H3. Bishop takes on F3. Queen takes F3. And now you see the D4 square is a bit weak. So the knight can jump in, but for now it is pinned. Gukesh goes knight D7. Very ambitious. He's trying to bring his knight to C5, later to E6, and eventually onto the D4 square. Magnus plays knight E2, taking control of the D4 square here. And now G6. Wow, you can see the bishop, instead of passively developing on E7, will go to G7 here and control D4. H4 played, trying to get H5 in. But maybe now Gukesh can simply stop it with H5. That's what he does. Black's position already looks quite promising here. He goes pawn to D3, opening up the bishop here. And knight jumps into C5, attacking the bishop. Now you don't want to be putting your bishop on a passive square like C2. So Magnus chops off the knight. B takes C6. And now pawn to D4, capturing some space in the center. Well, you can take here, E takes D4. That seems like the most logical thing to do. And Gukesh has 9 minutes 20 seconds. Magnus has 8 minutes 10 seconds. He takes on D4. Knight takes D4. And now maybe Queen D7, just protecting the D7, the C6 pawn. But Gukesh feels a bit more ambitious here. Attacks the knight on D4. Magnus chops off the pawn on C6. Queen comes up to D7. And now a very important move to go E5 to defend the knight, and Magnus plays it. If you take D takes E5, there is knight takes on E5 with the rook hanging in the corner, so you can't take it. Maybe just simply castling is the best move, but Gukesh goes Queen G4. What a nice move. If you exchange the queens, this becomes very weak. So Magnus keeps the queen with Queen D5. But isn't that super risky? Gukesh castles here. And Magnus must now castle as well. He will lose his H4 pawn. But that's not important. He does it. He plays short castles here. And now Gukesh must tread carefully. He chops off the pawn on H4. White's position slightly better here. E takes D6 seems like a normal, natural move to play. Magnus is thinking a bit here. Rook E1 is the best move according to the engine, but very difficult to play. C takes D6, and now bishop comes to G5, attacking the queen. The queen can go to E4, offering itself for trade. And that seems like the only move in the position. Queen e4. And he finds it. Queen to e4. Gukesh fighting well here. And Magnus goes bishop to e7. Rook f8 played. Threatening rook takes c6. There's an x-ray there. So Magnus brings his a rook to e1, attacking the queen. If queen takes d5, c takes d5. And the pawn will defend the knight. He takes, pawn takes. And this does look very promising for white because this is hanging. He goes knight d3, which is a nice move. All equal until now. Fantastic play by Gukesh. Rook e4, and now an important move, knight to e5, so that you can take the knight out from c6. But f5, what a big error by Gukesh. He simply weakened his g6 pawn, but more importantly the e6 square. And maybe Gukesh has missed something here. Magnus quickly gets in with his rook to e6, and I think maybe Gukesh underestimated this move. Maybe he didn't see it, but now he's totally in trouble. Rook takes d6. He's lost a key pawn. Maybe Gukesh is banking on knight takes d5. He takes it so that if rook takes d5, there's rook takes c6. But bishop g5, what an excellent move by Magnus. The knight can't move, there's knight e7. The rook can take here because c6 is hanging, but you can always go rook d1, rook c7 played. And now maybe knight to d8. Oof, what a move. He's attacking the knight on d5. Also knight e6 is threatened. Knight comes to e7. And Magnus brings his final piece into the game. This is a game where you can see how white's pieces are tremendously more active than black's. Knight comes to e6, attacking the rook and the bishop. Gukesh goes rook c6, offering a trade. Well, his problems could get solved if Magnus takes on c6. Pretty sure that Magnus is not going to do that. He goes rook d7, attacking the knight on e7, threatening knight f8. Too many problems to solve. He goes knight to c8, and now just chopping this off. Because if king f8, bishop h6 and rook e8 is checkmate. So you can't take it. He goes knight b6, attacking the rook and hoping that he can pick up the knight on the next move. But look at what Magnus is ready to do. He goes rook e7. If you take on d7, I take back with my knight. Otherwise, I have check coming in. White is completely winning here. Gukesh is utterly lost. And he resigns. Another win for Magnus. 5 wins out of 6. Showing that he is the GOAT, the greatest player of all time. Gukesh, of course, gets invaluable experience from all these encounters, which is sure to help him become a better player. But this is great play by Magnus here in St. Louis. Hi everyone, I hope you enjoyed the game. I want to tell you about Duolingo. This app, I used it extensively to learn languages when I was young. But I'm so thrilled that it now has chess on it. If you are a beginner, there are beginners courses here. If you are an advanced player, you also have different kinds of checkmates, different types of tactics, opening ideas. So you can make use of all of this. And what is very exciting is the way in which it is being taught. Oscar teaches you, who is a fun-loving character and a tutor, and it will give you some hints. There are streaks which are created. There are daily tasks that you can achieve. There are rewards. You can play against Oscar, and there's also a leaderboard. By the way, I'm leading on the leaderboard. My ID is Sagar Chess 1. Let's see if you can challenge me and get ahead of me. Download the app Duolingo and start your chess journey, no matter what your level is. And let's get better at chess.